You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions. And so today is a very unique day for us. Today is probably the last live show that we'll have. I don't know when we'll have another live show, but for right now we're going to be moving a lot of the shows over to YouTube. And the YouTube channel is Jessica Ariel Morocco, and that's Arael, and last name is Marrocco, for those of you that are trying to connect to that. And of course we're gonna upload all new YouTube audios, maybe videos in time, but just to keep people updated, the information's going to continue to come in. And it's nice to be here live. It's nice to see people in the chat. It's nice to say hello, and everyone gets to hear it in the moment and what's coming up during that day. But for different circumstances and reasons, I think that it works best. And sometimes I like the flexibility of being able to kind of create and get information out at various times. And so that will make sense for me going forward. Also, there'll be different YouTubes that you will notice. I've separated it. So Answers from the Universe will have interviews with people. The Andronicus transmissions will continue for information from Andronicus, Rhodan, Meetis, Gary, Orkham, and many of the others, Wyman and so forth, that come through and want to share information. I'm going to try to continue doing that weekly, although we're going to miss a very, very special aspect of that, and that's JayPee's wonderful voice and personality, that the personas that have come through JayPee. So it's kind of sad for me, but at the same time I honor JayPee's decision and needing a break and stepping away and kind of doing the things that he feels that he wants to be involved with. I mean, I'm talking about you in third person almost here, JayPee, but
here I is.
Here you is. So anyhow, your voice will always be a very, very integral part of the Andronicus transmissions, but like I said, I want to respect your decision to go and create and do other things that you need to do. So I don't know if you want to say anything to everyone, because they all love you and they want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I just feel that I have to. I need to take a step back. I'm not. I'm a shy kind of retiring person, and I don't really have many things to say of my own. So it's for the best anyway. But thank you for the opportunity, Jess. Exploring these voices and letting me do my silly voices.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was fun. I think it brightened up a lot of people's lives. It made people feel like, they're engaged in what was going on. And also I think, if I could speak for myself, I know it made my life a lot nicer. I can't tell you the endless hours of laughter and even just thinking afterwards, how the things played out. But, it's wonderful. You're a multi-talented person, and I anticipate that you're going to be continuing with exploring all your many, many talents and, wizardry and magic and all this, expressiveness and the science and all that other stuff. So, but anyhow, you're here and you're going to be doing a lot. And so, but we're going to continue on, I think, because people are still interested, they still want to hear, and as long as, the information will continue to come in whether I share it or not, but I do choose to share it. I want people to be able to have a knowledge of what's going on and what Andronicus has to say, what Rhodan has to say, and so we're going to keep that all alive. and also my own desire to keep people informed, continuing on with guests like Peter the Insider and maybe James or whoever else that I feel directed to bring in and have a discussion with to share some insights. So it's going to be, we're going to continue to bring in information until I really feel otherwise. Maybe someday I'll take a pause and step back and think and contemplate and or move in another direction. I don't know, but right now that's not the way that I'm headed into. So, but I do value and appreciate World Spirit Radio for the many hours and the time that I've spent here. And so, I have to step away from the live shows and for a bit, and but still around, and people can always contact me and reach out to me at my website at readingsbyariel.com. And they can also, like I said, follow on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. We have our Andronicus group. People can always join in and do, participate in any way that they want to do so. So, let's just we'll all keep connected and it will all be well. And for those of you that, maybe you like or dislike some of the content here, that's fine. There's always lots of other content you can get engaged in, and no one's preventing you from doing so. So be free to go elsewhere if that's what is comfortable for you. But for those of you that want to continue following, I do appreciate you and love having you around. So anyhow, we have some guests later on today. We're going to have Devin and Ray, and then we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about some things that we've been kind of curious about. We are kind of a little bit of a sci-fi group, so we might talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of sci-fi, and see what else what people are talking about, and some interesting connections that we figured out. So anyhow, so JayPee, let's see. I'm looking at the transmissions and maybe thinking that we might start with Rhodan. I had a vision of these floating spools, rotating, multiple ones up in the sky. Each one represented a being, commanding and judging as he spoke. Yet their movement of spinning almost like a thread on a spool, going round and round. I'd never seen anything like that before. They seemed to have a persuasion regarding humans' preferences, influencing them who to like and dislike, and they spun as if they were working together in a program.
I'm here if you want to speak to me.
Can you tell me what it is that I just saw? These beings didn't seem to have a name, but did seem to have a presence. They reminded me of a corporate human resources personnel, or, process of auditioning for a role in a movie or a play. And as they waited, for someone to determine the fate of who was chosen and who wasn't. That was the kind of feeling that I got. And so then I considered the multitude of inequities in the planet and thought, I hope these mindless beings are not the ones who are making the decisions for the rest of the world and choosing who should and who shouldn't be in a different place.
No, they're not. But whenever they have the opportunity to bother humanity, they will.
Can I ask who they are?
Mischief, sorrow, pain, cruelty, conflict, arrogance, and many others. Each one has its own name.
What is their purpose? Why do they exist, and who put them there?
The last species that claimed rulership over humanity, the 12th the 12th dimensional Pleiadians. And they said they assign different ones to censor, police, and dictate over humanity. These are the ones who have been showing up around you lately. Whatever shows up around you is an indication that they need further examination and assessment for removal. This is done before our councils, through all legal and rightful processes, and each faction that correlates to this specific species and their leadership will be questioned and assessed for further processing and immediate removal from power centers.
Well, can we do this now? Remove all of their connections to humans. Disengage their consciousness from anyone innocent or powerful. Can we break their grid forever?
We have found one in particular who lies to humans about their purpose and often proclaims that they are useless and should not exist. This is a good place to begin.
I believe I have found that one. So one by one I removed all of the spools of spinning beings, and then they were gone. Tell me, Rhodan, have I completed the task of removal of the system that made the random decisions of who they would affect or impact in the lives of humans?
You have, and now we can see a bit clearer regarding humans being able to guide their own fate without interruption. Time is changing for all of us. We shall soon see a better outcome for everyone. Yes, mischief, sorrow, pain.
Yeah, it was the weirdest looking thing. It was like, I can't say it was like spinning tops, but the only thing I can compare it to is it looked like a spool of thread. And they were like dangling in the air and spinning in a clockwise position. But also, sort of reminded me of, like, you ever see those wheels that the Tibetans have where you kind of, it has like the Om on it and you just kind of, kind of touch it and it spins around and it's supposed to perpetuate Om.
Oh yeah, the prayer wheels.
Yeah. All right. So it was similar to that, it was kind of conical in a way. And, but it was like an alternate reflection of it, and instead of a prayer, something positive, it was doing just the opposite and bringing in like all sorts of painful kind of situations. And I asked them, I said, does this have anything to do with karma? And they said, no, it has absolutely nothing to do with karma. So some people are going through these additional pains and suffering, and it's not even related to their life journey. It's not even related to their path. And I said, well, maybe they shouldn't be there. I mean, not maybe, but actually they shouldn't be there, because I think we go through enough as it is, and we're here to learn. And if we're going through a tremendous amount of pain that seems to have no purpose and is prolonged over periods of time, and I have clients like this, they're like, well, some of this stuff doesn't even make any sense. Why is it that it doesn't go away? It doesn't stop. Why is it that there is so much stuff here? And not all of it is karma. Some of it is actually beings that are here that should not be here somehow, from like an alternate space or a dark space, and wanting to really discourage humanity. I think I don't know exactly what their intentions are and what the purpose is behind it, but it seems unjust in a lot of ways. And I don't know how I saw it. I just saw it. And the thing about my communication with beings like Rhodan, who are in non-space, and some of these very, very powerful beings, and the fact that when I see something, it's almost like I have permission to discuss it and find out where it belongs. And when I see something that is ancient and I know that it belongs there, it's almost like as if I already know that this construct or this kind of aspect of things seems to hold things together, sort of like the mortar between the bricks. It sort of belongs there, in order to hold everything together, a foundational process. But when I see something like this and I see it seems odd immediately, it seems like there's like a tilt and some kind of strangeness about it that doesn't seem to fit into things. It's like I've brought this up before. It's like watching the movie The Matrix, and and then they show, I think it's The Matrix, and then they show the woman with the red dress walking through. It's almost like, wait a minute, there's a glitch in the program. There's something showing up that doesn't belong there, and immediately the alarms go off, and you say, there's something wrong with this. So when that happens, I propose that something, get resolved, and then they explain to me what it is and why it happened. Sometimes they don't explain, sometimes they just, remove it. There are beings that are in the wrong place sometimes. I don't know how they get there. We've had a lot of mixed up stuff happening because, now, through the guidance of some kind of ETs or advanced societies, humans that start playing with the quantum space and the quantum computers and really messing with things and messing with timelines. And so we've got a lot of really weird stuff happening. So when we're talking about the strangeness that comes into our world, it's not just for entertainment purposes. It's really, to say that things are just getting really messed up. But I think that the fact that it's put a lot of people on alarm, and so they're trying to, hold everything in space so we don't just kind of like, spiral out in some way. So this is one of those examples, and I've talked about this stuff before. So as I said, continue to share some of the visions and interactions, and you can see for yourself some of the things that are going on out there that don't make any sense. Another thing that I saw, that these that they weren't humanoid. They were sort of like, you felt like they were a person, but they weren't. And another thing that I saw that they were doing is that they had some kind of intellect, and they were randomly selecting certain people, like multiply selecting people to win the lottery, for no apparent reason, but just like one person wins the lottery, and then other people, no matter how much they try or do, they don't win anything. So they were sort of randomly selecting and choosing, so that people would feel like, why is that person sort of blessed, or why did they manifest better than I did, and all that, and it had absolutely nothing to do with it, which brings another level of discouragement, doesn't it? So I thought, well, anytime I see anything like that, I ask them to remove it, and somehow, stuff like this has been sneaking through the cracks, and so that's the way it is. But anyhow, let's see, we're at, what do we have? Gary, we have Meetis, and then we have Andronicus. Now, JayPee, something came up. Something came up with Andronicus. And I think it relates to you.
Yes.
Do you want to read it, or do you want me to tell you?
Well, let's read it and see what happens.
Okay.
I've been meaning to speak to you for a long time, to talk to you about a problem we had, but didn't quite know how to deal with. There was something on Saturn that we didn't know what to do about. We decided to make an effort to resolve it, and much happened.
Tell me about it. What did you see?
I saw an ancient one, the head of an ancient one. It was enormous, like the scale of the elders, so large and grand.
Was it like the face that you could see on Mars?
No, it was a full-scale head, but opened on the inside and with many compartments where beings resided. It was grand in scale. It was hard to believe what it was doing there. Many know about this, but few discuss it because it is the home of many alternative species, so it is considered a dark place. But much like the origins of Saturn, it was not dark in the beginning. You see, and hopefully remember my conversation with you about how Saturn was a benevolent being who, while in stasis, was subdued and overtaken by a negative faction that resulted in a haven for many negative species. This was a place for them to extract powerful energy to fuel their ideas of power and submission. Sometime later, this head arrived. apparently they also used it as a vehicle.
That sounds like another problem, and a way for the negative faction to extract DNA or energy from the head.
Oh, very much so. This is how they gain knowledge about us. We began to investigate and believe it could have been Prometheus. Many factions pulling from his essence without regard of his divine connection. I feel this is part of our problem and systemic intrusions into sacred spaces throughout the galaxy because of access to the divine essence.
I believe I saw a movie that there was a large head where other societies were mining from it, particularly for its ancient divine essence. This is powerful stuff and understandable why things are so clouded and confusing. How did all of this happen, and how did Prometheus end up here in such an unfortunate circumstance?
It is clear he was brought down here through dimensions. We will need to further investigate to see how he got here in the first place. It would have to be a divine being who had betrayed us all. I don't believe he did this. Clearly he had contributed so much more than the fire to all living things. Now we see the sadness of this extraction, but also the remedy of it now that we have been removing all negative factions from the grips of his skull.
Does this affect him now? This is horrible news.
Actually, this is positive news. We have found where the breach is. This is the true access to the DNA coding of the ancients. He is affected by it, but not directly. It is similar if you were to find an ancient aspect of yourself and then brought it into this space. You would recognize it, but it wouldn't affect you as far as pain or trauma. In this case, his life force has already moved on to another space. This is the remainder of the vessel that houses the soul essence. Nevertheless, this flesh, the DNA, the skin, the bone marrow, and so forth, all have encoding that is not supposed to be used in this reality. I believe there were many attempts to create a super race, but they were highly unsuccessful because they are missing some major elements that would allow the DNA type to thrive in this present environment. This present environment will be degraded compared to where the body existed.
Is his head from the Titan time period and dimension?
Yes, very much so. Similar to when the found extract of Kraton and the Black Stones used for military communication. This is another mystery that had unraveled. What we believe to have happened is that they brought him to fifth dimension, then other species brought it into fourth dimension much later in time. No one now knows how it got there, but we will know more soon. This is where we found many rogue species and much will be revealed. There is more to come.
But will Prometheus do better as a result of the extraction of these beings?
He will be rejuvenated when he is finally liberated from it all. Support the process of peace and separation. Allow the truth to unfold and realize that anything can be corrected in time.
Thank you, Andronicus. We appreciate your help.
Well,
yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know how you're going to respond to that, but I mean that I could have sent it to you privately, or maybe you don't. I don't know how you feel about that. But.
Well, it's another thing.
It's
it's not me, like you're saying. So
yeah, no, it isn't. It's like the kind of a distant connection, but it's as if someone goes back in time and brings forward, like say you were King Tut or something, and then now they have it in a museum, right? So you have the artifact of King Tut, but you're here because you're incarnated multiple times later. But it's just kind of interesting. The key thing here was that the head didn't belong in this dimension. I mean, it was somehow. I don't necessarily think it was like beheaded or anything like that. I think just sort of gave up the body, just stepped out of the body, and somehow they were able to figure out a way to transport. Probably they were looking for knowledge, I imagine, if they instead of just looking for another body part or whatever. just to get the information and the data that they were looking for. Kind of like getting the motherboard of a computer, maybe. I'm feeling that was their thinking, but he hasn't told me everything yet, and he doesn't really know who did it in the first place. So it's kind of like an open-ended discussion. We don't really know how or what's going to resolve with that, other than the fact that all of those species that seem to have abilities and seem to be able to go into other dimensions and so forth may very likely have been using this energy to do so. And it reminded me of a movie that I saw where there was like a large head. I can't quite remember what movie that was, but I thought about it immediately when he started telling me about it. But I could see this head. It was in Saturn. It was kind of like the neck was kind of in the ground, and the head was upright. So as far it wasn't like the back of the head was resting where you see the face only, like in Mars. You know that the Mars face that they have?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, yeah, Prometheus head being used as a rocket. Well,
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Mostly as a place where they resided in. It sounds like they turned it, because the scale of it was really large. So you have like smaller species that seem to turn it into like, a place where they were going in and out of, and then, starting to do stuff with the marrow and so forth. And I don't know, it was kind of weird. But,
So, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Okay. Let's see. Why don't we go to Meetis next?
Hello, Flower. Another rainy day for you. For me, it is pleasant and springtime. I want to know what happened to some of my friends out there by you. Some of them are missing and forgetting how to get back to me. Do you know where the Elven went? The small clan of them that stayed with me when I had Baylord come to visit. It was a lovely experience. I feel lonely in comparison. But now, well, they seem to be missing.
Where do you think they might be?
I think they travelled out to find you. They're curious fellows, always looking for a reason to go on a journey, but I think they may have had a bit of trouble travelling as they do. They would appear very much out of place in getting into things, if you know what I mean. Don't get me wrong, they're clever folk, but I'm positive it will be even a challenge for them.
How can I help them? Will they find me?
I'm sure they will. They seem to have a mission to find who they are looking for.
Is Baylord with them?
I'm not sure about that. Let me look. Well, things may get quite interesting. I believe he is with them.
Shall I expect them to be here soon?
Very soon, that is. You will recognize them. Oh, did you talk to Ray? I told him to stay strong and that things will get better.
I believe that Meetis, we never have to worry because we all land on our feet and we have friends like you.
Oh, I'm blushing. Tomorrow is always another day. No need to worry. Sometimes we must hear the bad news, but the sun will always rise and shine on another day. Keep strong and believe you are loved and heard always. It is support that you all need from one another. Nothing seems difficult when you have friends around you. Here's a song for you all. Oh no, that's 5 years, sorry. Try again. A perfect its bloom, a loving fate. It's not too late to feel the love and no more hate. I know there are many who say what they will, but none will listen to truth yet still. They still hold on to bad luck charms, find themselves depressed and forlorn. A dawning day, sure better stay to be true light, not in an artificial way. I know you well, each one I could tell. Will you do well to be in harmony today? La la la, be in harmony today. La la la, we will be here to stay. La la la, no matter what they say, the negative ones will not thrive in any way.
Very nice.
So there's Meetis.
Yeah. It's always very nice to hear Meetis.
So, final beam down.
Yep. Let's take a look at... Wait a minute, where am I?
And the special Gary mic is not working.
Oh no! Here's Gary. Hello, hello, hello. He's somewhere out there hiding.
One, two. Yeah,
Here's
the mic
something.
works. The mic works. The mic is working, but the special effect. Hang on, let's try this. No, the effects box not working.
What are we going to do without the effects box?
How
come you didn't get there?
I'm back.
Yes. There you are. You were hiding.
Yes.
I know you were hiding. Yes.
I seem to be higher. Anyway, never mind. Hello. Yes, no.
Hello, Earthlings. How are you? Let's see. Time is changing again. Where do we begin? I want to tell you a story about a friend. He's a big friend, kind of like a giant. Maybe 6'3". Well, he said that I'm too monochromatic, many shades of one colour. I thought, isn't that superficial to say to someone? So I responded and told him that he was a bit bland and couldn't reflect his own personality as I did.
And what was his response?
He said, I should wear more green to match my skin. How rude. Wasn't that rude? I think he was implying I look like an alien. But I'm not green at all. The nerve of him.
So is that how you responded? I'm sure it made you step back a bit.
I did. After all, he too is not from this planet. Only he has longer legs and thinks he blends in better. Maybe I was a bit sensitive to him.
Well, we are all different. It is normal to be offended over things, and maybe many of us get that way, so should we change the subject, or...
Why? It doesn't bother me. I might put on the lime green vest I have and surprise him.
Is there a special occasion for you to get dressed up?
Yes, we are going to listen to some music. I like to dress up a bit. I have these shoes that look candy-coated red.
Really? You like bright colors, don't you, Gary?
No, not really.
Alright, so, just out of curiosity, what color is the shirt under the vest?
Yellow, of course. What else matches with lime green?
So then do you wear lime green pants also?
Why do you ask?
Because then it would look like a suit.
A suit? I'm a dancer, not a businessman. I don't wear a tie either. I wear orange, green and purple argyle socks, purple and striped blue pants and a red knitted hat. They call me the Rainbow Man. It's a secret who I really am. I just like to let my hair down and forget about my mundane work week.
I like colorful clothing as well, Gary, but that is very extreme for even my taste.
It requires a lot of confidence in oneself. You have to be bold to look bold. I'm a trend setter. I started many trends in my life. You would recognize them if you saw them. Do you remember the platform shoes? That was my idea. Bell bottoms, I like the way they looked as well, and it reminded me of Diglocken. They really caught on.
Yeah, but that was in the 70s. I remember that. And, clogs were also popular in the States when I was growing up.
I didn't have anything to do with clogs. That was Sammy, my friend who was stationed in Amsterdam. He was chasing windmills or something. Nice guy, but, well, interesting. I think he started a few trends as well.
You never mentioned Sammy before.
I haven't mentioned a lot of my personal life, but you keep listening to me, and so there you have it. Have you ever been to Nova Scotia?
No, I haven't. Why do you ask?
No reason. La-di-da. I should write more songs when I think about it. Ah yes, it is tulips on Wednesday. Let me see. Yellow tulips.
Does that mean something or anything significant?
Not really, but they are lovely. You will see. Tulips. They are a way to brighten one's day, and every Wednesday Fenton puts them on display in the window. Today is Blue Monday. Not Sad Monday, but Blue Monday. No music or dancing, sing the blues, blue ice cream, blue curtains, that's all. Just blue.
Today is a rainy Blue Monday, Gary, but I feel alright.
I feel alright as well. Blue, blue, blue. The birds fly away. Alright, it's now out of my system.
I like bluebirds. They are pretty.
Do you sing to them?
No, never. They wouldn't stay around if I sang.
You can sing for me any day. I like to hear you sing.
Well, that's nice, Gary. That would be you and the birds then. That's all.
Tell our friend we will miss him.
I will, Gary. Thanks for sharing.
Ready for takeoff. 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Farewell, Earthlings. Don't forget the tulips. So there's Gary.
And there's Gary. Yep. So he's, doing as he usually does. I was a little surprised about his choice in clothing. It was a little more colorful than I would think about, but I don't dare say anything because he'll mention it to me later about why I was discussing his choice and preference. But anyhow, so we're going to probably move on into the next segment of the show, and I decided I do have a message from Peter the Insider, but I wanted to do the last live show today, a full show, and we do have a pre-record, so I'm going to try to manage to get that information up for JayPee. I don't know if you said you had a slot sometime later today.
Yeah, I'll put it on.
JayPee.
It'll be on after Journeys with Rebecca.
Okay, so, and that's approximately, you said 10?
Yeah.
10 Eastern Standard Time. So, we'll see if we can share that with you if those of you want to listen. It'll probably be in the archives. And of course, it will be in, YouTube at Jessica Ariel Morocco. So, but for now, we're going to go play a little bit of music. We have here, for music, it is, Our Love is Alive, of course, another little tribute for Gary, Gary Wright, and Electric Light Orchestra, Mr. Blue Sky, and I think I have another last song, Superfly, Curtis Mayfield. Okay, we back?
You're back on.
All right, good. So, anyhow, it's nice to be back. Thanks for everyone listening in. And we have Devin and we have Ray here.
Jello.
So, hello. How are you? How you guys do? How you doing, Ray?
Good. I'm not too bad, actually. Still got a bit of a chest infection, but fine. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, am I coming in clear, or does it sound like maybe I have to reset the call?
No, you're clear.
Okay, good. So, how are you guys doing today? We'll start with Devin.
I'm good. It's overcast here too. It's not quite blue, but it's still nice.
Well, that's good. And how about you, Ray?
Well, I had a lovely day yesterday. It was beautiful. I went down to like a pub and had a restaurant down near the river. Well, not the river. It was on what we call the cut. It's like a canal.
Mm-hmm.
And lovely music there and family. Had a great day yesterday.
Yeah.
Beautiful weekend.
It's beautiful. It was a really nice weekend. I think a bunch of people just, a bunch of us communicated at some point, and it's always good to talk and check up with things, and so Devin and Ray are both a part of the Rhodan Earth Council as well, and so there's always some interesting conversations, and people are really nice to each other. They're kind. They think about how the other person is feeling and so forth, and it's nice to have that environment, And so, but we were talking about all sorts of things, but in particular, I had a nice experience this weekend. I went to see the movie Solo, which was the most recent Star Wars movie, and I was shocked. I'm sitting there in the movie theater and I'm listening, and the bad guy in the movie is named Rhodan. I was like, what? And I think I had one transmission of someone by the name of Lando, and there was one of the characters there was Lando. And it was just like it just went on, and I was saying, all right, at the end, it's like Ron Howard was the one that produced the movie, and I was like, okay, Ron Howard, are you taking my content here? Or at least the characters and the names, because, the stories, I guess, can be changed or whatever, but, I don't know. I thought it was just kind of funny. And, Devin,
yeah, well, it seems like Happy Days has been looking into your, stories. Most certainly.
Yeah, not so happy days, right? Right, happy days for them.
Yeah, well, I have heard that Star Wars is like channeled material.
Well, a while back, earlier on this show, when I was on, I don't know, a couple of years back, I think, and this is before I was doing the Andronicus transmissions, that I had information about this guy. I interviewed this guy that was one of the camera guys, or someone in the production area of the making of the early Star Wars. And I asked him, because I had visions of those beings, like the stormtroopers, over in when I was looking in trying to tune into Pluto at one point. And I said to him, this is a real space, isn't it? Some of these stories are actually happening. And he said, well, he goes, to be honest with you, he said the writer, was kind of an interesting guy. He kind of alluded to the fact that he had the sort of ET contact and that he had this information. And somewhere in the archives I have that interview. And if it's still there, I mean, I don't know how long the archives go and how deep, as far as, how far back in time they go. JayPee, does it go back, how many years do you save, some of the interviews?
It's all there.
Okay. So yeah, JayPee, do you remember that guy that I interviewed? I'm trying to remember his name.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
But it will be there in the archive.
Yeah, it happened, a while back, but I remember talking to him about it. But, I just think it's kind of strange, and I have seen indications here and there, and we've talked about this before, that, some stories like that were on Fringe and whatever, that they kind of, it's almost like some of the stuff that happens in the network, what's actually playing out here. And, like on people's radio shows and so forth, it's almost like they pulled some of the content and then they create these stories. Not all of them. I mean, I know that the ACIO talks about how some of the stuff that some of these corporations do, and then they turn it into like video games. I guess that's really popular. And it's kind of like they're letting people know what they're doing. But on this occasion, it kind of set me back, because I'm just thinking, all right, I'm going to go and watch, a fun futuristic movie or a sci-fi movie, and then, little did I know, and there's the names right there. So, but you never know what you're going to get, right? What do you think, Devin?
Yeah, it's random and very interesting.
Yeah. But who would pick Dryden for a bad guy? I mean, it's not really a typical bad guy name, right?
Yeah, but everything's interconnected, right?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Who was the character who played Dryden then? Well, wasn't Kevin Spacey, was it?
No.
No.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was suit him, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. But let's see. Let's see. We'd have to look it up. But it was an interesting movie. It was kind of a darker, like, how they shoot it in a low light, and they had new characters. It's supposed to be Han Solo, but him as a younger guy. And then they have him going through all these like little rogue, experiences of little cities and I don't know, it was typical Star Wars. They always have the best, interesting effects and so forth. I was always a big fan, but I'm not going to like it if they were taking my information. Anyhow, could be coincidence. We can put it off as that.
Well, I've never really been into Star Wars myself, but Stargate was the one I always been interested in.
Yeah.
Going back, and that always seems to have a lot of bells that sort of ring true. You know, like in going back to the older Star Trek, and like JayPee should watch, and everybody, all of us probably in the chat should watch. All these references come through of things that we all know that. Oh, that rings a bell. That's true. Where's that come from then? Where did they get that idea from?
I'm going to see if I can find it. It's interesting because I don't see his name out there
it's
yet.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, yeah. And I think, wasn't he in, I think he was in a movie with Heath Ledger as well. I've seen him in other movies before. Yeah.
Was that the Brothers Grimm?
Yeah, I think he was in the Brothers Grimm as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Lando is another one. Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Danny Glover's son. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Well, sounds very much like that.
Yeah, it's got the same last name. I'm just guessing. I don't know for sure. But Lando was another. I brought him in once, and he was helping me with Venus. So I thought that was interesting.
Who was helping you with Venus, sorry?
The one by the name of Lando. I have one transmission from Lando. It's Lando.
Yeah.
But it's like Lanto. And I thought that was interesting that came through. But a lot of the movies come from, inspirations from like especially these type of movies come in from Monarch. And, they have access to ET technology and knowledge and insight and, different various scenarios. So, I mean, none of it actually, makes any, it makes a lot of sense to me that they would possibly, make different connections here and there. But it was, like I said, I go anyhow. I like to see what's going on. And it's interesting to see what Hollywood's putting out for the latest story. Some people don't like what Hollywood produces, but that's.
There's an interesting thing you were saying earlier about Hollywood. When they do something in Hollywood, and then you get a character in red. What do you think that sort of represents? I mean, like, was it Spielberg done the film with the Jews? I can't remember now. And the way you see the little girl in the red coat, she was in red. Everything else in black and white. It's just the little girl who's always had the red coat.
Was it like I'm trying to think of the
saving the Jews or something. I can't remember the name of the film.
Like Red Riding Hood?
Schindler's List.
Like a Red Riding Hood?
Schindler's List. Yeah, it was Schindler's List. And the girl was always in the red. Everything was in black and white, but the little girl had a little red coat. Am I right? Am I thinking about the same film?
I don't remember the film, but JayPee, do you remember that?
No. I don't know the name of the film.
Oh, maybe I'm getting the wrong film. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but either way, well, in the case of the Matrix, the reason why they put the woman in the red, what they're trying to put out there is when you see an anomaly like that, it makes you consider that we're in a matrix, that we're in some kind of weird reality that's fabricated.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the Matrix is to remind everyone that what he thought was real was not real, and what appeared to be fake was actually real. And that's the premise for a lot of the stuff that I talk about is you have to, on face value, when you're with everyone and you haven't had the blue pill, red pill option, and you're looking at everything and you're saying, hey, everything is normal, you guys are weird, why are you looking at this other stuff? And it's because they can't see the actual, separation that this is, a part of this reality is not 100% of some of the stuff that you're experiencing is partially fabricated, so that there's other things going on behind the scenes. It's like don't look behind the curtain situation.
I mean, I watched, sorry, I watched, there's someone was filming in North Korea, and everything was in black and white. Just people going by the street and they're saying this is how normal it is. And you got right to the end, and then you had this woman walk past, just like Iron Word saying, a lady walked past in a red dress.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so weird. And then I looked at what people were saying underneath. They're saying there's a message there. And obviously I thought, yeah, there is. Kathy Race is saying, you're right, Ray, the Second World War movie, black and white, and the only thing in colour was a girl dressed in red. So I was right on that film then, yeah.
The only color they used in the Sin City black and white movies is red.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yep, that's true.
There's Dark City too did some kind of color change as well, didn't it? It's just to point out, that there's a reflection of something else. I mean, if there's anything that people get out of some of the discussions is, even if you don't believe and you think some of this stuff is just really extreme or bizarre, step out of yourself and consider that, the possibility that there is something else behind the curtain. And unless you see it, there are people that see it and they say, well, I just thought it was a dream. I thought it was this or that. And then as they begin to explore it, they realize that exists. It doesn't mean that, our reality collapses. It doesn't mean that, you step into a place where you're on a chair and you've got something plugged into the back of your head. But some of these people that are feeling abducted kind of have some of these things happening. So does that make them not, like in a delusion, or are they actually having these experiences? So what is real? That's the question. Should we discard and it's easy to mock and laugh at something that you do not fully understand. But, what if it's for your good to fully understand what's going on rather than, to stay in that place of the program, and the program keeps running. And yeah, you could happily stay there and, kind of point at others and mock it or whatever, or you can be open-minded and say, oh, maybe some of this is existing out here and I should explore it a little bit before I make a comment. Because it will actually help people to better understand that some of the things that are happening in their life are not, it's not all predestination, as all the religions have kind of formulated how our lives are supposed to be, and that we're here only for that purpose and to fulfill some role that we're playing, but we could step out of that role and think beyond it, and be creative in our thinking. So, I
was just interested in what you're saying about, what was it, Rhodan saying about the 12D Palladians. Can you just, you're saying I got rid of you. Is he saying he got rid of them, or did you actually get rid of them? I sort of missed a bit there. I just had to go out and come back in.
Sometimes they ask, to let me know if I don't come in clearly. I look like I have a little bit of a weird connection.
No, you sound fine.
Okay, good. Sometimes because I'm here on the earth, they ask me to do some things here, and then they do stuff from the perspective where they're at, and I work with multiple guides that help me, and I just happened to notice it was in my field, and anything that's in my field I can take a look at and examine And I asked, of course I don't just do things, I asked because it stood out to me that it didn't belong there. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like I've done little practices with people where they kind of look at, you know, sometimes a lot of things are an illusion. You imagine that there's something's going on and then you find out that it's something else. And then meanwhile, you know, you're reacting and behaving in a certain way that, you know, it's not necessary. You're not looking at the truth of what's going on. And so, it's creating multiple, traumas and problems for you rather than, you know, kind of dealing with it. So I've had people do little processes where they look into this space and like it's like, a mirror image or like a space beneath you in a way. And you take a look at that space and then you see, you know, is there something in that space? And immediately you know whether it belongs there or not. You say no, or it looks cluttered. It looks like a room with lots of stuff in it. And they'll say, well, then clear it. You know, clear that space. This is looking at the space within your own field. This is not for people that are just, people that are just thinking in their mind. You have to be in a spiritual place, someone that meditates, someone that understands and has a sense of what's going on around them. And so if you're looking in your field and you see something that's unnatural, doesn't belong there, it's very likely that this being, or whatever it is kind of latched on and kind of create menacing things around your life. And so, and it creates, a distortion of your view. You can't fully see what's going on. Or, you know, kind of, you're having health issues or some other things. Sometimes it's something that's there, it's dormant, something you picked up from being in like if you go into like depression or a lower vibration at some point, you know, you can have these kind of things come around you and it happens to everyone. And anyone on this earth that says that they're, you know, righteous and above it or whatever, that it's not quite accurate. The truth of the matter is that we all, you know, have been affected by different things in this world because this world is imperfect and it has, you know, all the different elements. And as Rhodan mentioned, what those spools were that I was looking at, it was like pain and sorrow and suffering and all the different things that humanity goes through. Yeah. Completely, in all different experiences in time. And they're not the cause of it, but they actually magnified it, I believe, with those spools and, you know, kind of sending it out there. But as we go through those points, it brings us, I think the 12D Pleiadians kind of use this to bring us into a lower vibration so that we are then further exposed to other types of traumas. Whereas if we're higher, then we don't get that exposure and we can ascend.
Did he actually say he got rid of them? Oh,
yes, I got rid of those.
I thought I was in the kitchen yesterday. I had to go and do something, so I kind of missed that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
good. Right. So, what else? And
go ahead.
There's something about the lottery. I missed that bit. I always found the lottery as a.
Oh, yeah. So it looked like what they were doing was they were sending out certain people. Maybe there were people that kind of worked with their system or something. You know, I mean, it felt like really dishonest.
It does to me. It always does.
It felt like, you know, like something's rigged. You ever see when something's rigged and you know, you're like, I don't know if you've ever been in, like a lottery or, you know, we had that election that seems very, rigged that one year with, George Bush Jr. It just seemed like that was, all the voting and the hanging chads and all that stuff that happened in Florida, with the election with Al Gore.
With the recount, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and everyone just sits there and, you know, you're perplexed. You're like, what in the world just happened? that was the feeling that I got.
Well, you know they're selected, they're not elected.
Right, but I mean, I think there's been periods of time when people have gone through. I think we're more wiser than we were about 20, 30 years ago.
Well, that's for sure.
And I think people have learned a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people that started to provide information, disclosure, and insight, people probably laughed at them at that time, but as time moved on, they started to come into a realization. Like I talked to Peter about how, he says, well, he has a statement. He goes, I can give you, the truth, or he has a way of saying it, but I can either give you the truth or I can give you, pleasant lies, or, these, harsh truth or whatever. And so then, sometimes you have to say certain things and people don't know how to take in the information but in time, he says, like, things that he was saying 2 years ago, people are starting to talk about now. He said, because it's evident, they can see it, and early on, it's hard to be the one that kind of steps out and says the information, and then you have to catch up and find out that it actually happened. And it's not like we're manifesting it, it's stuff that's existing, it's just that it's sort of, insider information. But, if it's not commonly spoken about, people have a hard time with it.
Well, yeah, certainly we are waking up. Well, obviously that's what JayPee done a great show with this Small Spirit Radio, and that's what people are here to listen to shows like
people
shows and other like this to wake people up. And people wouldn't be in this chat room now if there wasn't a waking, that's for sure. Sorry, Devin, go ahead.
Right.
But yeah, people are they're like discovering, they're trusting their hearts more than what's being projected into their minds.
Absolutely. And if your heart is open, then you might feel that you're directed to different people to get information. Wolf Spirit was founded on the premise of a freedom of expression, and Dave Corso said a lot of stuff that probably just was, like if, people were like, wow, I can't believe that's happening, and he really woke a lot of people up. And in his interviews with Jesse Ventura, who was a well-known wrestler and also a governor, that information really, created ripples around the world. And so a lot of this stuff, the many interviews of super soldiers and all of this information, whether, that there's no partisan, there's no like, hey, this one's, we're going to listen to this one, or we're not going to listen, we don't like that one over there. Well, you have your choice or whatever, but, someone might relate to one group as opposed to another, and that's fine. That's what they're going to do. But if, the system would have everyone be asleep, so then they want everyone to argue and disagree and say, I'm better than that one, or I know more than this one, and even if I feel that way, or someone might feel that way about me, it's not going to benefit anyone to get into any of that. So if anything that I could say on this live show today is that, the best thing that we can do is try to be in a place of working together in harmony. Otherwise, the information will get shut down, because I think that's the true intention, is that we don't have a voice. If we don't have a voice, we become a number. And that's the first thing that Andronicus said, the first show that Andronicus brought forward, is that the reptilians took over, the Andromedans became a number. They forgot who they were, and they had to remember who they were. And in many ways, we're doing the same thing. A lot of us we're put in a deep sleep. And, are waking up, some of us slowly waking up, some of us are waking up very abruptly. But either way, when it's abrupt, it's not very pleasant, and it's sometimes can create a reaction. So, but like I said, this is what I'm all about. I hope that others feel the same. Sometimes I see negative comments in YouTube. I know that, sometimes people are sent to do that and make comments that don't even make sense. but just, to be negative. Some of them don't understand the show or whatever, that's fine, but it doesn't need to be said that way, so.
Well, you're always gonna get, negative people that way come on do that, but that's, disregard them, obviously. But your show, now it's gonna go on YouTube, and, so, people who enjoy the show will come on YouTube and listen to it. And there'll be plenty of positive people to come on and listen to it, I'm sure.
Right, and we'll also, the show will be pre-recorded, but will be at the same time slot from what JayPee has told me, so.
Well, that's good, yeah. So, we can come in and listen to it on Wolf Spirit Radio still.
Right, both. You can go to either one, and if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, then when it comes up, then it will be available for you to listen to. But either way, let's talk about what else is going on. We still have our Andronicus group. People want to join and be a part of it. And, every now and then we put a little update and let people know what's going on. So, of course I have, my website that people can always come to at, readingsbyariel.com. So,
and, Chay's done your design for your new, poster, didn't she?
Yeah, she's an amazing talent.
She's great, very great, very talented.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some really, really wonderful people that I've met. I'm really grateful that, we get to learn and to grow together. And so, like you guys.
Yeah, it's the gathering.
Yeah, it's the gathering. So, so many things to talk about.
But yeah, like the gathering, and how, some people don't realize how important it is to have someone or a group of people that you can just talk about any topic about without judgment of your opinion.
Right, I think that's important. I mean, that's part of evolving and not getting stuck in a specific paradigm. It kind of lifts us a little bit higher from, the kind of that bully mentality or the ignorance that happens when you're younger and if someone looks a little different, then they have a problem with it. So it's the same thing. I mean, I think we're open and we can have a discussion about anything and technically, I think that's how everyone should be.
I think it really helps people find their voice too, and counter becoming a number.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And everyone's opinion, has value. So,
Yeah, because our perspectives are all different. So if we don't share our opinion, then your perspective is going to be, minimized to your experience.
Right. What do you think about that, Ray?
Well, obviously, Devin's always spot on when he comes out with his deep thinking. I love the way he goes thinking that.
Thank you, brother.
He's just such a brilliant man. He's such a lovely soul. Yeah, but that's what it is all about. All staying together. This it's not just our group. It's all the whole Wolf Spirit group has grown, and we have met many. I have met many fantastic friends on Wolf Spirit. And I still love listening to it, and I love chatting with the people. I don't chat so much now because I'm just not a very good typer, but I do like listening, and I do like hearing people's opinions and see what they put in the show. and other shows, obviously. So it's a special gathering. It really is. That's what it feels like to me. A special group of people that really want to be together and really like to chat together. We have something in common. Obviously, to change the world, that's the biggest one. We'll get rid of the governments, but that's what we have to do.
Well, it provides a safe place for people to go if they want to, come and have a discussion. And like I said, sometimes people in the chat or whatever, you can kind of they always add a little something nice to what the conversation is, what people are thinking about, what they're doing. I think that's very, very helpful because everyone has their own little perspective and they're saying something else that's a little different and it puts a separate twist on it.
Yep.
And, I always, there's always room for people to learn and grow. And just because I have a lot of channeled information, I don't claim to know everything, that's for sure. And I really like the way people bring up new insights and new ways of looking at things, and that's the positive part of it. So it's being able to meet new people and have new experiences, and that's what's nice. Also, I mean, we talked about a while back of kind of gathering together in England,
yeah,
and seeing that all these different people, were a part of that get together. And
Staffordshire thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Staffordshire.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't there though.
Well, you might.
We're gonna have to transport you in there. Are you sure about that?
Yeah, you said I was part of the church somewhere else.
Oh, but you weren't in actually that village. But you were there during that time period.
I was not in England.
Oh. I don't, when I channel stuff or when I get insights, sometimes I don't remember what's been said.
Yeah,
because
like
the information comes through and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't mean you can't come, Devin. But I'm trying to get onto Will Spirit Chat, and my computer is not acting happy, and that's why I'm pausing a little bit here and there.
Oh, you can't see the chat?
I can't see the chat at all, and I'm looking, and I'm trying to get my computer to work, and I don't know if it's getting a little overheated, but it's you know how they get. So anyhow, sorry I haven't been in the chat.
Well, there's no questions yet, so there's no problem, so we can carry on.
I'm in chat.
Yes. Okay. Right, so I wanted else to know, what was Andromeda saying about, I can't remember what he said now. You just have to remind me of what you just said, Jess, Andromeda. Because I was in and out of the kitchen because I was trying to cook something to eat at the time. Thanks.
Yeah, we were just mentioning about how that we found kind of this common thread in there. Everyone was joining together in it, and it was nice. It was really nice. So now I can see it.
Oh, you're back. Oh, you're in the chat. Good.
Yeah. Let's kick butt together. What's this? Kick butt and chew gum?
Yeah, kick butt and chew bubble gum, but we're all out of gum.
Yeah, well, that's what's that American saying, is it? That Devin.
All right. Seems like I had to get out of that. I was getting a reverb of communication.
It's a quote from a video game series.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, what video game was it?
Duke Nukem.
Oh, I think I heard of that. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that anything connected to Fallout?
No, Duke Nukem was one of the first first-person shooter video games for the computer. It was human beings, you know, and it was a human being versus aliens taking over the planet.
Yeah, that they have a lot of that coming up, don't they? But what's the end? Where do they bring up the Nukem part of it?
That was the main character's name, and it had to do with because it was kind of set in the future, and so there was like nuclear powered energy and all kinds of odd technology.
You mean like futuristic technology or advanced?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's interesting how they put that stuff out there. So what was the comment about, the chewing gum and all that stuff? It's just like one of those little statements that they have in the game?
Yeah, it was a quote like, I'm here to kick butt and chew bubble gum and I'm all out of bubble gum.
So, anyhow, I don't know. I seem to be all over the place today because I can't connect. But
okay, let's go to what Rainbow Gary was talking about.
Yeah.
Rainbow Gary. I remember in the 70s when he was saying about them shoes.
Yep.
I had a pair of them shoes one time.
Those clogs?
No, not clogs. It was like a very
the platform shoes.
The platform shoe, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was.
And it was I was in my car with my brother, and the car broke down. So he said, "You have to get out and push it." So I said, "All right." And so what we call a bum start, you know, push it and then it starts again.
Mm-hmm.
I was pushing the car fast as I can, and we got it going, and all of a sudden I was pushing, the whole sole just ripped off the back of my shoe. Because as you're pushing, you're...
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it just peeled away like a banana. And I just picked up the shoes and lobbed it over the railway lines out of anger. They just remind me of that. And I had it was the 70s then, we had another, like, what we called a tank top. JayPee probably know what that is. A tank top. It's like a vest, exactly like a vest, but you wear it over the top of your shirt, and there's all different colours you used to buy. You know, different stripes, just like rainbows sort of thing. It just remind me of that.
Oh yeah. So it was sort of like what he was talking about with the outfit.
Yeah.
And it was just like all rainbow colored.
I wonder if he had anything to do with the tank top and all.
I think he was implying that, you know, you need to have like some kind of confidence in order to dress this way. And I'm like, but I think he felt like everything was too bland, so he wanted to do whatever, you know, he could to express himself, I guess. But I thought it was kind of funny. He says all sorts of things. I never know what he's going to say.
I know, yeah.
But that, who would have guessed that? I could see why he would want to create the platform shoes because he's not very tall, but I shouldn't have said that.
Oh no, you're in trouble.
I know, I was made a mistake because he called the guy a giant that was 6'3".
Because he's not green.
Yeah, he was going to find that he was green.
Well, didn't like the platform shoes and the high heel shoes, weren't they, like, I heard they were invented in, back in the Middle Ages. So, when everyone just dumped their garbage and their pots right into the street.
Oh wow. Yeah, well, that would make sense too. Well, are you talking about like the clogs? Cause they've been wearing the clogs for a long time.
They had a high heel shoe, obviously, to keep. You're talking about on the cobble floors, Devin, like throwing it out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back before we had, plumbing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why. Yeah. So you don't put your foot in the mess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Although he's probably been thrown over the top with you anyway.
Right.
I think, who wore kind of high shoes too was Dryden. I don't know if I told you guys, I talked about it on the show before, where when I actually saw him in the house, and he was, I could hear someone walking and I saw this man, he was a very tall, thin man, but he was dressed from another time period. And it was almost like, it was like an lucid dream, but the weirdness of it is that it was so real. It was so, clear and I could hear his shoes as he was walking down the hallway and then going down the stairs.
Yeah, you said, yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Maybe, 18th century or 17th
yeah.
century?
It might have been the 17th century. It could have been, it's 17, 18, yeah.
When they're sort of dressed as a dandy and had high heel shoes and...
Yeah.
With wigs
and
on.
so it had to sound like women wearing high heels almost, but not like the stiletto shoes, but kind of just a high, but a thicker heel.
Yeah, and it sort of makes a clogging noise, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
there's a question in the chat.
Was he a tranny?
No. No, he wasn't dressed that way, but it was definitely, like you said, a dandy.
Dandy, yeah. Yeah, they're trannies.
What was the question, Devin?
There's a question from Rolf. Is there any more info about Gary's friend Sammy from Amsterdam?
Sammy. I think it's Sammy, right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get any more information. That was kind of a surprise. And he also mentioned someone by the name of Fenton. And I don't know who that was. I mean, when he mentioned the Lindvitch, I thought that was totally made up. I thought, well, he's just playing with us. And it turns out that, Peter knew him. He was like, yeah, I know the Lindvitch. I mean, of course, he's working with the Council of Five and he's over in the Czech Republic. So he is interacting with them and I forget what country he said he lived in, but he interacted with them and he said that he did work with files and paperwork. So, we'll have to find out. Maybe I'll see if Peter knows who Fenton is or Sammy. And he said stationed, which I thought was interesting too. He's stationed in the Netherlands. So it sounds like military, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Either that or works for the ACIO. I mean, I don't know how the organization is exactly set up, but I mean, it does seem to have the typical arrangement of how people interact in an office situation. It's protocol and so forth. So, who knows? And I forget. I'm trying to see how Fenton was brought in. let's see.
Fenton was whose friend?
He was also someone that was mentioned by Gary, and
Right.
they were talking about the clothing and everything, and how.
It was a bit hard to hear Gary's transmission because it echoed a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot of echo.
Mm-hmm.
So, which part would you like to? I'm trying to find the section where he brings up. He said, "Sammy, my friend who was stationed in Amsterdam." And then he was joking. He said he was chasing windmills or something. Nice guy, but, well, interesting. I think he started a few trends as well, because we talked about the clogs. I told him the clogs were, I remember them being popular in the U.S. at some point. Oh, here it is. Let's see. Fenton, on Wednesday, Fenton puts the flowers, the tulips, on display on the window. So I don't know what window that is. I didn't get a chance to ask him.
It sounds like he owns a flower shop.
Possibly, yeah. Or a place that he walks by. And then he said, he brought up Blue Monday, no music or dancing, singing the blues, blue ice cream, blue curtains, and that's all. Just blue. So, I mean, sometimes it's symbolic, sometimes he's given like a message within a message, and sometimes it's just straightforward, just his silly perspective, or maybe we call it silly, but he has his own perspective of seeing things.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I picked that Electric Light Orchestra, Mr. Blue Sky, because he mentioned blue a lot, and he also called it Blue Monday.
Yeah, but he didn't mean it blue as blue. He meant it blue as good blue, didn't he?
He didn't mean it like blue as sad. Yeah.
Sad, yeah. Once in a blue moon or something. Which is interesting.
Right.
Well, it seems a lot of Amsterdam seems to have a lot of companies come from Amsterdam. I think the first company from Amsterdam was the Indian Tea Company or something, was it? It was the first company in the world. It come from Amsterdam. You know, as you go, everything's called a company now, company PT. But the first company from I know was Indiana, not Indiana, Indian Tea Company, and then the British took over it, called it the British Tea Company. I looked it up on Google, yeah. Of course, Amsterdam and Holland had a lot to do with going towards USA, because New Amsterdam was New York before, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I always say there's the Dutch are in all sorts of things.
They are.
If you start looking at history, and they own islands and you don't really, so they also have a royal family. There's a lot going on there. The Bilderbergs started there.
Yeah, Dutch East Company.
Yeah. It's just, there's a lot, that happened in that country. So, and it makes it very, very interesting. You never know. I mean, there's all different things happening around the world.
I think they still have a lot of power, the Dutch. What do you do? It's just under different corporations now.
Yeah.
As they branch out, As they all branch out and take over another piece of the land or somewhere, another country, just put a different name on it, a different brand on it, a different slogan on it.
Well, I think that years ago, I mean, they were exploring and different areas were, just sort of taken in, like the U.S. Even though, the British were originally here. I mean, look at, the Vikings were here, the Celts were here. There's so many different others that were, kind of had an impact. The French were obviously here. I mean, there's certain regions, even, and then influence in Canada. So, I mean, it's real. It's really a melting pot. The world's a melting pot now. I mean, the people are moving from all different places and coming together and migrating.
As Cappy Race was saying, we got a reptilian royal family too.
Yeah. Well, I think, people are kind of, they're willing to allow themselves to believe that everyone's equal and shouldn't be a caste system, there shouldn't be an elite group, there shouldn't be, should all be equal. And, at first that was kind of an extreme way of thinking, or you were considered a revolutionary or something, and it's not even that, it's just that we just don't need to acknowledge it. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of the celebrities are worshipped as gods, and a lot of them, political figures, and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they always, you find them in adverts, because people believe in, oh, my favourite actor, I'll go and buy that product. Just because that actor you like is doing that advert. It's just all psyop. And people just can't see through it. They really can't.
Right.
So,
but everyone's equal, and we even look at, at India has a caste system, but, it's like, with all the spirituality they have, that never made any sense to me.
No.
Why do they have a caste system?
Well, because they're all connected. They're all the same bloodline.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. None of it makes any sense.
Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison, the singer.
Yeah.
His father was an admiral that started the war in when America went to war with Vietnam. He was the admiral of the fleet. They're all connected. Everyone's connected. Everyone in the Hollywood, everyone in the singing. They're all their father. You go back to their fathers or parents. They're all connected to royalty, to presidents. It's one club, like Jim. They're all in the same club.
Yeah, it's like a genetic experiment.
Yeah. I mean, his father started off the false war for the Vietnam War by blowing up one of the other ships and saying that they done it, and then off the war went. So their children come famous for some sort of agenda to say Jim Morrison was a free power, and then that drugs out at that certain period of time. Yeah, it's all there to bring out some sort of reason that we set that sort of agenda for the 70s, for the 60s, 70s, and 80s. All the music in brought out for a certain reason, for a certain time, to sell certain drugs on the scene. I've been looking at quite a lot of the people, but most of the stars, they're all related, and their families go back, and they're all related to kings, queens, presidents, prime ministers, all in the same group, If you look at it. If you do your homework, you can find out
right.
And they're not just a normal Joe off the street. Not a normal person who goes to work every day. You don't get in the club that way. People have to wake up and see that your heroes are not heroes.
Start our own club.
They're not heroes. you know, all footballers and sportsmen, they're all in the same club. They're not heroes, you know. Don't praise them. You only got to praise
something.
Yeah.
We really
Breaking up.
is
No, I think you broke up just a little bit at the end. They cut her off. So what do you, that's about the size of it. What do you think, Dev, about all these celebrities all being connected?
You know, like in the royalty thing, it really just reminds me of the concept of ancient extraterrestrial genetic programs that have just been continuing.
Yep, you're probably right there, mate. I think, yeah. It's like the royal wedding. The royal wedding, what was all that about? Everyone turned up there, all the guests who turned up there. I think the majority of them
like if it wasn't still going on, we wouldn't have what is called alien love bites.
Exactly.
right. Well, you know, the one thing that people don't realize is that if your bloodline too, the bloodline can work for you or can work against you. And there are people that, I've had some clients that have gone through some very serious psychic attacks which I later found out had a little bit of bloodline. Maybe it was more distant, but, so it's really weird. And we're not talking about human psychic attacks on them, but other types of entities that are looking to take their blood and to create trauma and to take them into other space. It's very, very strange. So that,
could it be related to genetic karma?
It could be, or it could be also just that they're looking for that DNA.
Yeah, because they're genetic, they're just targeted individuals.
Yeah. Like that message that I got from Andronicus. You know, it was very strange about, you know, having that head on the planet. And it's like, you know, it's not in this dimension. It's like the fourth dimension. It was originally the fifth dimension, and having, you know, access. It's not necessarily exactly who it was, but the idea that it was an ancient that somehow they pulled through the dimensions, and they can do this, and they've done this with. Peter has talked about, you know, military that have showed up, strange looking signs. Strange looking vehicles that we don't have, whether it's coming from the past, present, future, whether it's coming from a parallel or just an alternate reality. You know, these are just like really strange things that happen to show up.
It also reminds me of the concept of how DNA being used as currency.
Yes.
Right.
It's been,
that's horrifying. I mean, a lot of this stuff's horrifying, and you know, you don't want to think of it. And I don't think we need to actually go through any of this stuff. JayPee, I'm here to chew bubblegum. So he's got the YouTube there. Did you put that in the? And we've got some other information here too. You know, I think They Live. Is that the name of the movie that JayPee posted earlier?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's with Roddy Piper, another wrestler. It's interesting that the wrestlers are more open to disclosure than some of the others do. But that's kind of funny. Maybe they have their little chat and conversation here and there.
Well, like Roddy Piper, he had a lot of paranormal experiences that he before he died, he became really open about.
Well, that's good. I mean, you need more people to do so, and maybe someday, you know, we can get beyond kind of this whole system where we can freely talk about some of this stuff, and we are anyhow. I mean, as it becomes just more common and more normal, and programming starts to reflect that it's freer to have a discussion about these things rather than having to do it behind closed doors, feeling like you're the strange one in the room. But yeah, JP's reminding me it's time to go, and I want to say thank you to Devin. Thank you, Ray. You guys are awesome.
Much love and gratitude.
Yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat. I'll come in and great.
Thank you.
And thank you, JP. Thanks for it's been wonderful, and we will continue to be in touch. So have a good day, everyone.